Hey everyone, hello, it's Irlianna back again with StarSound Speaks, episode 214. And we are gonna be talking about Sag season. Finally, right after this Scorpio season with eclipses, we are now can breathe a little, bring a little jollity into our life with Jupiter ruling this new season. So let's get started. I got lots of really cool things to share with you. For those of you who are new to the channel, welcome. My name's Irlianna Samsara, StarSound Astrology. I do Hellenistic astrology blended with modern. And anyway, yeah, that's basically how it rolls. What I'm going to talk about here today is, first off, just a few announcements, and then I'm going to talk about what was in the news, the current Astro news, and then we're going to get into a little bit about what to expect this week. So, first of all, guests. So Erin Reese is joining us, who has never been on the podcast before. I'm very excited. I've mentioned her before in last week's podcast. She is an astrologer, yogi, mystic. She's definitely streak of wild child. She's written some really cool books. She's coming out with a new one called Bindi Girl Part 2. Bindi Girl 1 is already on Amazon, is written several years ago, but this is a continuation of all her mystical and wild adventures in India. So if you feel in the spirit of Sag season, I couldn't think of a better guest and better conversation, but she's going to be talking about what that was like when, she left her corporate world behind in San Francisco, sold all of her belongings, if you could imagine such a thing, and just went to India for 5 years and went back again. So much to unpack there, but she's going to lead us. We're going to do a little, talk about the new moon in Sagittarius, and then launch into, talking about her books and the spiritual wisdom. Since it is Sag season, it's all about spiritual wisdom and foreign travel and adventure and God consciousness and confidence, faith, hope, prophecy, intuition, all of those Sag things. So we've got that lined up for you. Andrea Michelle, my other star sister, she is going to be coming on. I thought she was going to be next, but we had to kind of rearrange schedules a little. If you've seen and watched her in the previous, when she did the lunar eclipse May 16th, this unbelievable teaching, so grateful. But how she can nuance the transits and speak to the alchemy and the symbolism behind them. And they are so rich. And these are nuggets of wisdom that we can take with us for months and months as we journey. She's got a lot to say about Mars and this particular alchemical journey, we'll say, of Mars and Mars magic and the divine feminine, the divine masculine. So we're going to be talking about that in probably the next episode, after Erin. So stay tuned. Ari Moshe Wolf is coming back. I'm going to talk to him about evolutionary astrology and Pluto moving into Aquarius. That's huge in the EA world. It's the Super Bowl for all of us, but EA, or evolutionary astrology, is really predicated on it is centered very much around Pluto and the signs of Pluto and how that reflects our collective and individual evolution. So when he was on 6 months ago, it was, outrageous. So I've asked him to come back, and he graciously accepted. So we got lots of really good things coming up. Vanessa Montgomery, you haven't seen her in a dog's age. That girl, she has written another amazing, great book on astrology, coming to us from Brisbane, Australia. And that she'll be coming up, I think, the first week of December. So anyway, lots of good stuff. All right. So one other announcement, just to say, also I'm doing a series on the archetypes in astrology. So the Sag archetype, El Natale, we did Scorpio archetype together, and I'm hoping, hello, El Natale, call it paging El Natale. We'd like to come back and do the Sag archetype. So, but whoever it is, it's going to be great, and you'll get a deeper dive. And I'm going to go into some cool Jungian archetype in my Ariel Gutman book, one of my favorite astrology books. So that's all coming up. In other news, okay, let's move on to the news. If you remember in my last week's podcast, I was saying how, now we're literally, like, tomorrow, Saturday, we're on top of that Neptune perfecting its square with Mars and Gemini, and what that, the many facets of what that may look like. Certainly, and how it was like, E.T. phone home. Well, guess what I found? You're gonna love this. Gonna share my screen. This is what happened within 3 degrees of this square. This is from the Anna Maria Island in Florida, the AnnaMariaIsland.com. It's their local newspaper. And there was a UFO sighting reported in Bradenton Beach, which is on the Gulf of Mexico. And here's this great picture. I mean, oh my goodness, look at that thing. I know it looks like a big fat Mack truck tire that somebody just boomeranged into space, but let's face it, it's hanging there. The Coast Guard plane went after it, and then it took off. It was like, I don't know, the guy said it was like 500 miles an hour or something. That, never seen anything like that. It was definitely, I don't know where it came from or what it is. Nobody can figure this out. That's Neptune for you. It's from some other dimension. This man said that, this police officer said, it had to be moving at least 500 miles an hour, just shot off like a rocket. And he said, I don't know what it was, but it was something, and it was hauling butt, as he put it. So, so there we go. There's an example of that Neptune, with that square with Neptune, something from another dimension. Turning the jewel, how it also is playing out is, well, look, there's, some news about Republicans flipping. There's a lot of movement. Donald Trump announcing his candidacy for president, and a lot of Republicans are fed up and flipping. That's part of his journey. He's a Gemini, and Mars is going back over his Gemini planets, and so there is this backtracking of support and backtracking of beliefs, right? And people, like so many Republicans in his camp. I'm not making political statements. I'm making astrological statements, just so we're clear. But the Republicans flipping and going back, right? So Gemini is like one side here, one side there, flip, right? So that's one example. Another one is on some, really exciting, positive, uplifting news to greet us as we head into Sag season. We've already got Mercury and Venus there, right? So with some positive news. The Respect for Marriage Act, which was introduced by the House back in June, word just out that the 50-member Senate Democratic Caucus, with the backing of 12 Republicans, moved to pass a modified version of the Respect for Marriage Act that the House embraced back in June. And the final passage could come as soon as today, maybe tomorrow. But again, see, there it is. 12 Republicans crossing party lines, very, very Mars in Gemini, retrograde and out of bounds, right? This is the unexpected. So these are very interesting ways in which we're seeing the astrology sort of alive. I feel it's really important because not just because I'm a total news nerd, but I got to put it to use somewhere. It's just important because we want to see astrology embodied. It's not just a concept that we look at symbols on paper, but we want to connect the dots and go, okay, here's what's happening in the sky. And as Hermes Trismegistus, the axiom of astrology, as above, so below, right? And so here is a great example of that, the Respect for Marriage Act, right? And Mercury, in domicile, Mars in Mercury's temple, Mars is about sexuality. Mercury is very much a marker for LGBTQIA, non-binary, all of the spectrum, right? So there we have an interesting way in which that is playing out. All right, moving on. So now let's do our little weekly check-in here. So we've got this week, Sunday, November 20th. This is for the week of Sunday, November 20th through the 26th, Saturday the 26th. So we're coming up to Thanksgiving week, right? We got the Sun trine Jupiter on Monday, the 20th to the 21st, depending on your time zone. The Sun trining Jupiter, very positive energy, right? Lending its, the Sun is just about to go into Sag, but it's shining its light and it's moving right in that trine with Jupiter. So, hold on a second. Okay, pulling up the chart. Here it is for Washington, D.C. the sun trining Jupiter on Sunday, Eastern Standard Time around 11 p.m. So depending on your time zone, it could be Monday, the 21st over in Europe and parts east. But as you can see here, it is the exact trine. Now the sun's still in Scorpio. It's closing its run in Scorpio, but it's shining on Jupiter, which happens to be the Lord, the host, the hostess, the priestess. let's bring it up, right? The priestess of this Sag season is Jupiter in domicile in Pisces. So it's really, I would say, anytime the sun is trining Jupiter, it's in general speaking, it's always a good thing. Now the sun is in Scorpio, shining secrets, allowing ourselves to regenerate and reprogram ourselves, having gone through, this very tough eclipse season. It was a lot of ups and downs, as always with eclipse seasons, but Uranus in the mix, very, very sudden change. I've heard lots of stories from people who are, listeners and friends and clients, and, how, wow, a lot of rug pulling out from under energy. And, we knew that was, very much a part of the potential, but of course, a restorative effect overall. And these changes taking time because it is a fixed sign. The eclipses happening in fixed signs means this nonlinear, incongruous, still magical transformation is going to be happening, will play out over the next several months. So we have the sun trine Jupiter, and Mercury is also conjunct Venus, as we can see here in the chart. So now both are still under the beams of the sun, but combust. It's still, you can't see them, can't see either of these planets right now. However, they are mingling together. And so Jupiter and Mercury and Venus for the next few weeks, traveling through the sign of Sag, there's a boundless optimism. When you think about Mercury, our voice, our communications, our connections and relations with others, our siblings, or the people around us in our immediate environment, and this quest for truth, this quest for justice, this quest for, who I am as a divine being, coupled with Venus is like it's like this alchemical process where we are discovering, by going through that deep hole and really deeply examining the pain body, our collective and individual pain bodies, we're able to see some truths around ourselves. These truths are still being formulated and revealed to us, but it does promise an enormous amount of hope and positivity and encouragement. And I would say too, like leaning into our gifts around prophecy, Jupiter and Sag, it's very much about its higher occult wisdom, but also Mercury is the logical mind, but in Sag, it's technically in exile. So it likes data, it likes to crunch data, and it likes facts, but in the sign of Sag, it's like, okay, where does my mind mesh with the divine mind, right? So it's not the workaday mind, it's like the opportunity to go into this bigger, grander space, looking at the big picture. You think about the galactic center, 27 degrees of Sag, right? The entry point of our Milky Way. They will get there soon enough in a few weeks. And so there's always truth-telling going on with that. The galactic center, I've heard it called, I think it was in a Mountain Astrologer. There was an article I read once, and it was called the whistleblower point. And I know a lot of investigative journalists or events concerning that have happenings around that point. So it's telling the truth, looking at this bigger picture, desiring to serve humanity with these higher concepts. I remember that, what was the man, Ronan Farrow? Do you remember him? He won the Pulitzer Prize several years ago when the Me Too movement came up about, 5 years ago? And he wrote that book and the expose about Harvey Weinstein. He has, oh my God, he's got like a boatload of planets. And I believe Uranus is right there, and Sag, right at 27 or within a degree or two. So no wonder he's an investigative journalist. Really fascinating. So anyway, moving right along. So yeah, jolly good stuff with Jupiter season. Tuesday the 22nd, the sun goes into Sagittarius. Sag season, we're going to dive a little more deeply with Erin with that, and as before we talk about her book, so we're kind of get everybody primed for that. But there's always an enormous amount of faith and goodwill and abundance, material wealth, spiritual wealth that is always connected, which is the very heart of the essence of Sag, this desire for freedom, like the bow and the arrow of the archer, right? Shoot that arrow divine into the sky, and aiming for, I want it all, right? You ever know a Sag? It's like, oh my God, how many runways are we going to take off? This one and this one and this one, and we want all of them. Sometimes it can be a little scattered. So that's like the downside of Sagittarian energy. It's like, we want everything, like the kid in the candy store. Let me just eat one of everything, but that can be overextending, right? A little bit overextension. So that's something that we have to watch for. But the sun in Sag is generally, especially with this particular, the next day we're going to go into the new moon. It's going to be 1 degree of Sag. That's the first decan. So that's a very strong positive energy. New moon, let me pull that up and see. We got that chart. Hold on a second. Okay. Here we are again. It is in the first degree, 1 degree, 37 minutes of Sag, and that is in the bounds, it's in the bounds of Jupiter. And that means that we play by Jupiter's rules. Well, Jupiter is the bound ruler, the domicile ruler, and night triplicity ruler. So there's a lot of Jupiter energy. There is about tons. And the decan of Mercury, the first 9 degrees, well, technically 10, 0 to 9, for Sag is the decan of Mercury. So there's this enormous curiosity to know and understand one's truth and who we are as divine beings. And this in a long sense, of course, is being explored with the Neptune exactly squaring, right, retrograde Mars, and also Jupiter here. There is definitely this influence where we are pausing and re-examining our goals and our passions relative to what we believe in, the stories we tell about ourselves and who we are as our real identity. And Jupiter being in the overcoming, as you can see here, an overcoming square to Mars is saying, hey, you know what? Look to the ideal. What is your ideal divine, most perfect, beautiful expression of who you are? Look to divine wisdom, occult wisdom and philosophy to explore your identity, right? It's not like what other people tell you to believe. So these are all very exciting concepts. And you think too about like the UFO thing that I was just talking about, when you think about, well, who am I? Well, we could do all the soul searching we want ourselves, but then we look up at the sky and you see something flying around that you don't recognize, and it's like, wow, it automatically redefines that. Talk about a paradigm shift, right? And it redefines, who we are in this grander universe and galaxy of things. So yeah, this is going to be a really exciting Sag season, if I have anything to say about it. So anyway, so there's that. And let's see what else to mention here. And the other interesting thing is the new moon occurring at 1 degree Sag, Jupiter is at its stationary direct point, right? 28 Pisces. It's like a horse that's in one of those, when it starts a horse race, it's in, I don't know what they call those things, those stalls where all the horses line up, and it's like it's been going backward for several months, and now it's at that still point and it's ready to boom, shoot forward. Well, 5 minutes after the new moon, 5 minutes, boom, it turns direct. I just think that's so amazing. It's like this, I see this as like this, it's a higher level review of who we are, of our identity and our connection with the divine. And now it's like, okay, I've been doing my soul searching. I've been looking on the inner for several months now. And now I'm getting these downloads and I'm going to, boom, bring them out to the world. I'm going to be free. I'm going to show I want to show the world, you know, my magnificent divine self, you could say. So here comes Jupiter, you know, 5 minutes later. So it's going to color the fact that it's like for the new moon, and it's like doom. So for Sag season and for this whole new moon cycle, it's that energy of outrageous expansion and goodwill and confidence and hope and optimism and positivity is going to like color you know, Jupiter is domicile. This is the last 2 degrees, 28, 29 degrees. By the end of December, it'll go back into Aries. So this next 5 weeks, you know, we're going to ride that wave. I would also say that look to see the creative projects that you might have been working on or inspired to be. When you think about Jupiter and Pisces, it could be an enormous outflow. I know in this writing project I was doing, when it was at this point back in, what was it, May, I was just, I mean, the downloads were just coming. It was, everything was flowing, the writing and all of this stuff. Of course, Jupiter rules publishing too. So, you know, I could feel the effect of it, you know, embodied and feeling very influenced by it. So I would say that if you have any kind of creative project or inspiration or something that makes you connect with the grander being of your place in this outrageous galaxy, you know, now is a time, right? Before it goes into Aries, it's going to leave its domicile. So where it's been very strong for the last year, you know, Jupiter and Pisces. So let's make the most of that. This is going to be, this is outrageous. And of course, we're going to, those insights and things and our ideal situation is going to color, you know, with Mars retrograde in that square, it's coloring, you know, who we are and who we can be. I just really, you know, wanted to really emphasize that, to use this compassion, forgiveness, all of these qualities of Jupiter in Pisces to color our world and let it color our as we continue to look and see and feel our way through the Mars retrograde. Of course, Andrea will be talking more about this. You know, she's just so articulate with this. But it's coloring this larger journey that we're taking through the next several months. So yeah, it's just going to keep rolling out the good stuff. So anyway, yeah, that's about all I wanted to share with you guys today. As ever, if you have any, I love to hear how you're doing with all of these transits and what you have to say. So always leaving your comments below. Like, share, subscribe if you feel to, and if you haven't or subscribed yet, please do. It's just wonderful for the channel. And yeah, and I hope to see you all very, very soon. And yeah, that's it for now. I'm thinking there's something else. Oh, I know. If you have any guests that you would like to see on the show, like, you know, anybody that you'd like me, an astrologer, favorite astrologer, let me know. You can leave it below in the comment section, or you could just write me an email, Irlianna@StarSoundAstrology.com, because I will contact them. In my former life, 100 million years ago, I was a publicist. So I worked on Madison Avenue, and I used to book people on TV shows. So I know how to talk to the media. So, hey, you know, astrologers, I got some little experience under my hat. So anyway, whatever. Just let me know. So I hope you all have a wonderful week. Namaste. This is Irlianna Samsara, StarSound Speaks, StarSoundAstrology.com. Thanks for listening. Bye for now.